Hi there, it's Suzanne from BEMO. Welcome to our second BEMO Bytes study session for the MS-900 exam. Today's session is super important because we will focus on Module 2, Core Microsoft 365 Services and Concepts. Why is it super important? Because it's 50 to 55% of the exam. And because it's the meat and potatoes of the exam, I'm going to break it into 2 sessions so you don't get overwhelmed. Today is part 1 of Module 2, which covers productivity and collaboration solutions in Microsoft 365. And just so you know, part 2 will be coming soon, and it will cover analytics capabilities, endpoint management, and deployment options. If you followed me on LinkedIn, you know that I recently passed the exam in January of 2023. And just so you know, this study session should be very relevant. If you haven't already checked out our MS-900 blog and study guide, go to bemopro.com and search for MS-900. Take the time to read the blog. There's a lot of useful information in it, and the study guide is located at the bottom of the blog. Okay, let's start with the study guide. Here's the module we will be going through in the webinar today. And because this module has the majority of the questions on the exam, we're just going to cover 2 of the main objectives today. So describe productivity solutions and then describe collaboration solutions. And you can see there's a lot of content here. So let's dive into the first quiz. Your organization has decided to purchase a business class cloud-based solution that will give the users the ability to communicate in email, access their calendar, and store contacts all in one place. Which Microsoft product is most suitable? In the real life exam, they do give you like around 40 questions and you only have 90 minutes. Do the math, about 2 minutes per question. So you do have to move fairly quickly, but do take the time to analyze the question before you answer it. So in this case, I look for keywords. So I notice business class, cloud. We know this next. Give the users ability to communicate in email. Well, we know it's going to be an email calendaring solution. Which product is most suitable? Okay. So I'll go in reverse. Exchange Server 2019. We know Exchange Server is on-premise. Going back to our keywords. Is that cloud-based? No. So that's not your answer. Most people will probably hover around these 2 answers. Again, we say business class, right? And allow the users to communicate in email. So yeah, Exchange Online is business class and it's cloud-based service. That's our answer. The Outlook app, yes, that covers email. It does all those things, but that's actually the email client application that's part of the Microsoft 365 apps. It's not the business class email service. So Microsoft Exchange Online is your answer. Next question. Which 3 sources does Microsoft Viva Learning source content from? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. And note to self, there are questions about Viva on the exam. My exam had several questions on Viva Insights. This question actually came from a sample test that Microsoft put on their Learn page. And this question feels a little unfair because you do have to have an in-depth knowledge. And the test is a fundamentals test, so you're just doing an overview. But if it makes you feel any better, there were not a lot of questions that required in-depth knowledge of the product. So I feel like if you did not understand or study for in-depth knowledge on every single item, you'll still be okay. So if you're not familiar with Viva, let's just do the word association game. Viva equals employee experience. And we do have another question later where we'll go into the different products that make up the Viva suite. So I've pulled up a document that discusses Viva Learning and then the integrations. And the note that's highlighted here, the integrations are in addition to the Microsoft-owned content sources included with Viva Learning. So Microsoft Learn is a default, and LinkedIn Learning. You can get a premium subscription also, but there is basic LinkedIn Learning. And then the last one would be the third-party sources, which are up here, and Skillsoft is one of those. They have learning management systems like Coursera, Pluralsight, and then you'd have to have a subscription to those, and they're managed on an organizational level. So there's your answer. So sometimes having a visual is easier than just looking at the question and listening to an explanation. So Viva Learning, if you aren't familiar with it, you can access it through Teams. If you have a license, I think you have to have Microsoft 365 enterprise licenses. It's an app that you can add, and this is what it looks like. So just remember, it's a dashboard that pulls through content. So when we were talking about the third-party content, that would be added by your administrator through organizational settings. But LinkedIn Learning, here's an example of the LinkedIn Learning courses that pull through. And then you can see how it marks them on the card. And then these are all Microsoft Learn free modules that you can go into and learn things. And ironically, you could search for Viva Learning. And then they have a little intro to Viva Learning in there, which you could also go to Microsoft Learn and search for that manually. But everything within Teams, there you go. And then the settings, this is something that wasn't in the question. I probably should have put it in, and this is a great feature where you can pull learning from the company's SharePoint intranet site, and you can curate sources in there, connect to them, and then they will pull through to here. For example, onboarding videos, you could have those pull through to this portal and they could look at them on demand. Which Microsoft Task Management tool provides a simple and visual way for teams to organize their work on a Kanban board? So again, keywords, Task Management tool. Okay, so we know we're dealing with tasks, which a lot of these options do incorporate tasks. So we'll have to narrow them down. Provides a simple, so we're looking for a simplistic task management tool. And it has to have the feature where you can see it on a Kanban board. So in the Microsoft Learn module that maps to the study guide, describe work management tools in Microsoft 365. This is a section where it describes all these products. Microsoft Project, and you can just briefly look to see that it is a powerful tool. Right? It does allow for Kanban style task boards. So you've got the task and you've got the Kanban style, but the keyword over there was simple. Project is only available on the Microsoft Enterprise license, but it can be purchased separately, as well as Visio can be purchased separately. It's designed for more complex work efforts. So we're not going to totally rule project out. We're going to move on to do. You can think of to do as more of a personal thing. Even though you can assign tasks to others, it's more of your day of work, your personal to-do list. It meets the criteria. It is a task management tool. It's simple, but it does not allow for the use of a Kanban board, and it's generally not used as a team tool to organize their work. And then we have Planner. And I'll just go ahead and show you an example planner. I'll tell you that this is our answer planner. It does provide, we'll scroll up here to planner. It's intuitive task management tool, simple and visual way for teams to organize their work. And it allows for the use of the Kanban board using task cards. So I'll show you what it looks like if you don't already have it. And it is included in the Microsoft 365 apps. So if you look in your My Apps and you've never been in Planner, take a little look around in it. And here's an example of Planner in real life. This is what we use to manage our content creation process from original idea through the progress, editorial review, design, and publishing. And note that it can be, right now, it's considered our content calendar. It is a planner. And we added it as a tab to the top. And you can see the Kanban style task cards. And you can assign them to people, and you can move the buckets to the different categories, and you can link documents. Anyway, it's a simple task management tool planner. Okay, on to quiz 2. Your organization is launching an important new product. You want to host a major online event to announce it to your industry. You'll have several people speaking plus Q&A. What type of Teams meeting should you schedule? So this falls under describe how Microsoft Teams promotes collaboration and enhances teamwork, hence the name Teams. And you need to be basically familiar with all the features. Collaboration tools in this, Teams and channels. We'll go over channels a little bit later. Chat and instant messaging. These are the things that you can do in Teams. Online meetings. There we go. And this is what the question is asking about, the different types of meeting. So we have 3 types of meetings. One is just a plain Teams meeting. Then there's a webinar, and then the live event. So the question here is, what is the most appropriate meeting type for different scenarios? So that would make it so that you have to understand each meeting type and what they offer. So let's go ahead and go back to the question, look at it. You want to host a major online event, so we know this is a biggie, to announce it to your industry. You'll have several people speaking, so you're going to have more than one presenter, several people, and you want to have a question and answer session. Okay, now we know the criteria. We'll go ahead and research over here at the different types of meetings and determine the best option. So regular Teams meetings include audio, video, and screen sharing for up to 1,000 people. There are view-only capabilities for up to 20,000. Participants don't need to be a member of the organization, so they can be external, and they can join directly from a calendar invite. Didn't really say anything about Q&A or number of presenters. Webinars are structured meetings where presenters and participants have clear roles, often used for training purposes or sales and marketing lead generation. So lead generation is big here. They provide two-way interaction. So there can be discussion, but it's generally not through a formal Q&A. It's through chat. And participants up to 1,000 have fully interactive capabilities. So pretty much meetings, webinars are the same here, but we have the added ability to have lead generation scenarios where you post the webinar and they have to sign up for it. Then you capture the lead. So live events are the biggies, right? They're structured meetings that stream to large online audiences, up to 20,000 participants. And the managed Q&A experience is the biggie here. That's what we're looking for. You can create a live event wherever your audience, team, or community resides using Stream, Teams, or Yammer. And even though it doesn't say it here, they can be produced with multiple presenters in different locations through different channels. So you can actually produce them through Stream, for example. So based on the criteria, we're going to go ahead and pick a live event. Question 2, your company has 15,000 employees and needs to select the best service to publish a company-wide survey, and we have company-wide, that reaches all staff with minimal effort. Okay, I've selected the keywords there. Now we're going to look at the choices. So the first choice, Teams, you're thinking, yeah, I could do this in Teams. I could go ahead and create a form and send it out to the org-wide team and have them fill in the responses. But the key here was 15,000 employees, and team is limited to 10,000. So Teams would be out, and it would probably not be as minimal of an effort as the other choice, which the answer is going to be Yammer, and we'll explain. SharePoint is a place to store, organize, share, and access info within the organization. Yammer we're going to discuss here, and Viva Learning we just went over, so we know Viva Learning is learning content. So the important thing to know about Yammer is it is a enterprise social network, and it's designed to connect and engage people. Engage means interactive, so survey would be right there, across your organization. And this is an organization-wide survey. And right here, communicate at scale with a site for leaders to share news, events, blogs, and polls, surveys, polls. And there's your answer, Yammer. And if you're curious and you start studying Viva, Viva Engage sounds a lot like Yammer, and it actually does use the Yammer service. So the answer is Yammer. And here's our question on Viva. Which tool provides recommendations to improve productivity and well-being? And we said Viva is considered a productivity and well-being employee experience platform. So I just basically loaded the Viva sales page at Microsoft, and you can see the suite is made up of several different apps, and they break it out by the purpose. For connection is, and this is the high-level overview you should probably understand, Viva Connections and Viva Engage. Insight, Viva Insights, which I did have this question on the test in 2 different ways, but Viva Insights is to help employees thrive with recommendations to improve their productivity and well-being. And it's important to note that it is included in the Microsoft 365 and Office 365 enterprise plans automatically, or they can be added for more features to plans that don't include them. So the answer here is Viva Insights. So I highly suggest that you become familiar with all the Viva apps, Connections, Engage, Insights particularly, Purpose, Viva Goals, Viva Learning we discussed, Viva Topics, and Viva Sales. Quiz 3. Question 1. Which 2 options allow an organization to store files? So let's go ahead and get our pen going. So we want to store files and enable collaboration with different teams, both internally and externally. So looking at our options, we're going to find 2 options. The first one, Dynamics 365, if you're not familiar with that, it is the CRM and ERP, Customer Relationship Management and Enterprise Resource Planning application offered by Microsoft. So that is not the answer. Sway, you may have never used, but I've used it in the past when I worked in the school system. So Sway is a type of online presentation tool. And SharePoint is one of the options, and I'm going to give you the answer at this point. SharePoint and OneDrive. I have an article over here that outlines the differences between SharePoint and OneDrive, and this article comes right from our BEMO Pro website. So we can see the shared strength, cloud storage. So storing files, yes, both OneDrive and SharePoint allow you to store files in the cloud. Your files are stored with enterprise-grade security. That's just good for you to know. One of the advantages of using the Microsoft services. OneDrive is best for two types of files that are exclusively used for you. One, personal. SharePoint, on the other hand, is best for collaborative work and publishing files that you want everyone to see or modify. Hence the word share. Both solutions allow you, OneDrive and SharePoint, allow you to share externally and internally. Your organization can control whether you share externally with SharePoint for security purposes. And when you create a team of teams, when you have the Files tab, all those files are actually stored in a team site on SharePoint. Our last option that we didn't cover was Microsoft Intune. And Intune is an endpoint management solution, so you can manage apps, identities, and devices through it. Very powerful tool. Answer is SharePoint and OneDrive. Which three types of sites can you create in SharePoint to foster communication and collaboration across your team and organization? So this one in Microsoft Learn, when you do the fundamentals modules, you will see that there are two types of sites, and when you create a site, you actually get a choice. If you ever get a chance to set up a demo tenant where you can actually create your own SharePoint sites, give it a whirl so you can get a visual. But this is the pop-up you get. Which type of site do you want to create? A team or communication site? Understand team sites are a private space for your team, and a communication site is to share information that informs viewers, some engagement as well. A hub site connects and organizes sites based on project, department, division, region, etc. Hub sites allow you to discover related content like news and other sites' activities and apply a common navigation theme and branding across all the associated sites, and also allow you to search across the hub. So in summary, team site equals collaborate with your team members. Communication site is less contributors and more consumers, so broadcasting as to an organization. And then the hub site connects all the related sites. So your answer is team sites, communication sites, and hub sites. Okay, you need to create a chatbot that is integrated into Teams. What solution would you choose? In Microsoft Learn, in the study guide, we point to it, but it actually is extending Teams by using collaborative apps. We have Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Dynamics 365, which we already discussed as a CRM, Power virtual agents, and you can integrate with third-party partners and services and teams. The first choice is webhook. And webhooks, outgoing ones would enable your users to send text-based messages to your organization's web services, and then the web services can respond. And skipping to connectors allow your users to subscribe to receive alerts and information from your web services. Power virtual agent, that's your chatbot. Virtual, it's a virtual person that can respond to questions asked in chat, in Teams. Power BI is the last choice, and that is for analytics. So the answer here is Power Virtual Agent. Chatbot would be Power Virtual Agent solution. We're moving on to quiz number 4. One more quiz after this to complete this portion of the webinar. So I thought I would give you a break from all the technical stuff and give you 3 kind of common sense questions. These 3 were actually similar questions on my recent exam, and I really enjoyed them because it was easy to answer. Which Microsoft app has the connected experience that allows automatic update of a bibliography? So don't overthink this one. Gut feeling, bibliographies, yeah, they're used in documents. Documents are created in Word, and there you have it. So knowing that they went ahead and tested on connected experiences, you probably should have a little knowledge. No guarantee that you're going to get a question about bibliography, but they are focusing a question in this area. So in this section of Microsoft Learn, describe the apps. Obviously, you need to know what apps are included in the Microsoft 365 apps for business and apps for enterprise. And they mention the connected experiences here, work intelligently through connected experiences. And they list some common ones. And ironically, they do talk about get automatic updates to a bibliography through Researcher in Word. For example, one of my favorite features was when they came out with PowerPoint Designer, so you could get design and slide recommendations. There are a ton of connected experiences, and there is a list here. You're not required to know all of those, but just be familiar. Since Microsoft is continually adding connected experiences and improvements to their products, it's fun to look at the list. There might be something that you missed, and that could make you more efficient in your work. You need to ensure customers receive proper confirmations and reminders with automatic appointment notifications through email and SMS. Which tool would you use? To answer this one, we're going to hop back over to the work management tools in Microsoft 365. So that's where we discussed all the project planner to-do lists. And ironically, I had 2 questions on bookings. Bookings integrates with Microsoft Teams or Skype for Business and your Outlook calendar. It basically allows you to spend less time scheduling and more time meeting with your customers. And if you're in sales, chances are pretty good that you already understand bookings and are very familiar with the features. You just want to be able to relate the benefits and value that it provides to customers. And I'm just showing here how it is included in the business basic, standard, and premium plans, as well as forms, lists, and planner, and SharePoint. Another simple question, and this one also was on my exam. I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but I do remember that they referenced tabs, and so that was the keyword that prompted me to pick OneNote. Your colleagues need to be able to document and collaborate on information about a project while organizing the information in tabbed sections. What is the best solution to store the content? And as we can see, OneNote is included in the Microsoft 365 apps. It can help with your note-taking needs by organizing your notes into tabs and subsections, creating a single digital notebook. I live in OneNote, and I can show you that I've organized here the entire MS-900, the questions that I'm using, and the material, references, the links. We can even put graphics, video, PDFs. You can print to OneNote. Anything that you find on the web, you can print to OneNote, and it'll create a page in here. So it's a fantastic tool. And the best thing about it is it's searchable. So I can search across it. If I'm looking for something on Endpoint Manager, I can search for Endpoint Manager and find every page that I have information on Endpoint Manager. So if you're not using it, you'll want to. And in my opinion, the OneNote class notebook that they developed for education, OneNote notebooks are available in Teams. When you create a team, there's automatically a shared notebook that is created that all the team has access to. So they extended that into education and created a connected experience with the class notebook add-in, which helps the teachers manage it. But it is a fantastic tool. Okay, I could go on forever about OneNote, but OneNote's the answer. Quiz number 5, last quiz. All 3 of these questions were topics covered on the exam that I took. First, which of the following options would you choose to quickly distribute information to multiple user mailboxes by using one unique email address? So we're going to narrow it down. When you look at it, you'll probably say, ooh, it's either distribution list or shared mailbox. It's not contacts. So let's examine the 2 of those. I drew you a very quick, simplistic drawing, but basically we have a shared mailbox versus a distribution group. So one of the things in the question was a unique address. So both of those do have a unique address. In the case of let's talk about distribution group first. Sales at BEMO Pro is the group name address, okay? And then the group has members in it. So we have our sales team, Adam, Julia, and Kevin. So the members are Adam at BEMOPro.com, Julia at BEMOPro.com, Kevin at BEMOPro.com. So if I send an email to sales at BEMOPro.com, and that is a distribution group, right? It's going to send one email to each person in the distribution group, each person that is a member. In a shared mailbox, you have the unique address, but that address is assigned to a mailbox name. So think of the shared mailbox as an individual user, and then all these people have rights to look in that person's mailbox. So in this case, sales at BEMOPro.com, an email is sent to it. It goes into the shared mailbox, so the inbox for sales at BEMOPro.com. And then all of our sales reps have access to look at the shared mailbox, and they can respond to emails, send email from the shared mailbox name, and there's also a shared calendar in there. So in this case, like if Kevin looks in his Outlook, he'll see his personal inbox, and then he will also see the sales inbox. And the sales inbox will only contain mail that was addressed to sales at BEMOPro.com. It's great to know the distinction between the two, especially when you're designing solutions for your customers. Okay, now that we know the distinction between the two, we can analyze the question. Which of the following options would you choose to quickly distribute information to multiple user mailboxes by using one unique address. So we know that one unique address applies to both of these, but multiple user mailbox would be the distribution group because you're sending to one address and it's landing in multiple user mailbox. So the answer here is distribution list. Of course, when you use the word distribute in it, that's a dead giveaway. Question number 2, which of the following are true? I had a lot of true-false questions on the exam. The first choice is a Microsoft team can be created from a SharePoint team site. A SharePoint team site is created when a new Microsoft team is created. And when you create a new private or shared channel, a new SharePoint site is created and connected to that channel. And finally, all the above. So you need to evaluate each of these. If you can find 2 that are correct, then you can go ahead and select all the above. And yes, I did have a similar question on the exam. Luckily, I was a Teams administrator and already passed my MS-900, so I understood how Teams and SharePoint get connected. But I did copy and paste a snippet here to review when do Teams and SharePoint get connected. So I'm going to hop on over to the demo tenant. I feel like this question is one of those that you need to see how it's working in real life. So let's hop on over. So this will be good because in quiz 3, I did have some questions on the different types of SharePoint sites so you can see this in action. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm in the SharePoint Admin Center. I'm going to go ahead and create a SharePoint site. And here's where you can see that pop-up that we already talked about, a team site or a communications site. And also remember that hub sites can be created after you select one of these sites. You can turn it into a hub site that connects multiple sites. So we're going to go ahead and pick a team site because we're trying to connect Teams and we're seeing how Teams and SharePoint connect. Okay, I'm going to give it a name, and we're going to call it Susie's test site. There you go. And then note, when we talked about email address, it's going to create a group. It's automatically assigning a group email address, and the group owner would be me. But you could pick another group owner. Here we go. And you can add members at this point because it is creating a group. Okay, finish. Okay, and we see Susie's test site. Here's one that I did before, but just so you can see how in the SharePoint Admin Center, you can see if Teams is connected to SharePoint. Right now, our new Susie's test site is not connected. So we're going to go ahead and go into the site. And I want you to see that the properties of the site that I created. I want you to see how it has a hub association. So if you have a hub site and you want this site to be connected to it, that's where you would associate that. Also, I think we haven't discussed it briefly, but external sharing. They do ask a question or two about that. So just note the organization can have a policy, which in this case we do, and you can choose whether to let people override it or not. But this is where we could specify if we're allowing sharing with guests or only existing guests, etc. And then also that it had created a Microsoft 365 group with me as the owner. All right, and then I'm going to actually load the site. And this is where I'm going to create the actual team. So when you load the site, it gives you an option to apply a site template. There's lots of choices here, but this is the one. Add Microsoft Teams to collaborate in real time and share resources across Microsoft 365 with your team. Add Microsoft Teams. So now you can see you're creating a team from a SharePoint site. And if I go ahead and do this, I could actually load Teams, and then I will see that in my Teams because I'm an owner. Okay, we won't go that far or we'll be going on forever. So we just proved this one, that you can create a team from a SharePoint site. Now, a SharePoint team site is created when a new Microsoft team is created. Let's go ahead and look at that. So I'm going to go ahead and hop in as a user, and I'm going to go into my teams. Okay, and you can see when I actually did link that other site, you can see how my team is there. So that just proves that when you create a site in SharePoint and add a team, you can do that. So we're going to go ahead and create a team, and then we're going to go look in SharePoint and see what has happened. So notice that you can create from an existing group. So this is also, if there's an existing Microsoft 365 group, you can connect to it. So we know that my group that I created over there, when I did the SharePoint, we know it was called Susie's Test Team, and we could go ahead and connect to that, or we can create one from scratch. It'll create a new Microsoft 365 group, and then go ahead and create the team and connect to SharePoint. So to save time, I'm just going to go ahead and connect to the existing group. It's a Microsoft 365 group. Oh, there it is, Susie's Test Site. And it's going to create the team. All right, and there's my test site. So the great thing here is to see it automatically creates this Files tab, which this will pull through. This is where SharePoint would be storing your files, and it's pulling through into Teams, so you can collaborate and work on files together. And now you can see when I'm back over in the SharePoint admin, Susie's Test Site now is connected to Teams. See, go to that Teams channel, which is the general channel. And if I upload a document in that Files in Teams, that document will be in here. There's, see, about a minute ago, the general channel was created. And if I save some files, they'll go in there. Hopefully that clears up conceptually how this works. Okay, so we proved this to be correct, and we just proved this one to be correct. And technically, you could say we have two answers, so the answer is all the above. But let's go ahead and look at the last option so you have a true understanding of how this works in case your choices aren't these. When you create a new private or shared channel, a new SharePoint site is created and connected to that channel. One of the things that you do need to understand about Teams, you need to understand all the experiences that you can have in Teams, and you do need to understand basic channels and how they work, chat, that type of stuff. So let's go ahead and create a new private, we'll just do private channel. So I'm going to hop back over to my user, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new channel. So we're going to add a channel, and we're going to call this Susie's private channel. Okay. Oh, they don't support the apostrophe. Okay. And this is where you say. So see how this will help you also to see. Standard channel is where everyone in the team has access. So the membership of the group applies to the standard channel. Private, you can narrow that down. So let's say you only have 3 people out of 10 that are allowed to see this channel, then you would pick private channel, and then it gives specific rights to that. A new SharePoint site would have to be created. And then shared is similar, where it could be all the people in the group or just some of the people in the group, but then you're also choosing people that are not members of the team. So they're outside of the team's access list. So then the teams group. So again, it would have to create its own SharePoint site. So in this case, I'll just pick private. I'm going to create it. And now it's adding the channel. I'm just going to skip this because I don't have enough users in my tenant. Okay, great. There's my private channel. Notice I have files that apply to just this channel. So if I upload a file into here, it would not be available in the general channel. All right, we're going to hop on over to SharePoint. And here's the proof that creating a private channel creates a new site. As you can see, this was my test site. and it's linked to the team, and now it has created a channel site. Okay, we know that the answer is all the above. That's enough on SharePoint. The next question, which tool would you use to create a customized workflow? So, customized workflow, keyword, such as an approval workflow. So you do need to know the difference between these tools: Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, and you can reference a study guide if you need to look those up. But Power Apps provides low-code development. So the goal is you don't need to be a programmer to create a custom app to serve your business needs. Power Automate, again, automated workflows. So I did have a question on this in the test, and the keyword was workflow. Between applications and service, again, it's low code. And then Power BI lets anyone connect to, visualize, and analyze data. And the three things to know about Power BI keywords are: it uses artificial intelligence, tight Excel integration. Just think of Excel, you can create charts and graphs. So Power BI gives you that visual chart and graph of your data, and it has pre-built data connectors, so you don't have to build those. So the answer here is Workflow Power Automate. Thanks for joining me for this study session today. Our next study session, Module 2, Part 2, will be coming soon. Be sure to follow me on LinkedIn, as I will be posting 3 to 4 question quizzes weekly and notifying my followers of the next study session. And as always, I'd love to hear your feedback and ideas.